Up, down, up, down, up. Welcome back to World of Warcraft, my pixelated friends. If I sound a little bit, I don't know, say groggy, I suppose. It is currently, let's see, it is currently 1:34 a.m. when I'm recording this. I've needed to record for a couple days now, so I decided now is as good a time as any. I'm already well talkative and I have an idea in mind, so let's get to it. First off, I personally have decided that we're going to use heirlooms, just so that music's a little bit loud. Just so that we can run through this and I can be a little bit more focused on talking to you guys rather than focused on what my quests are and what I'm doing in the game. Although, obviously, I'm going to be paying attention to that quite a bit. But I was just in game. I was just in game with one of the guys in the Block Zone crew, and we briefly, very briefly, talked about the meta of such a game. Now, meta is something very difficult to explain. It's different for every game. Say for a MOBA game, our bags are full. Say for a MOBA game, it's normally going to be something like team composition. Who's on your team, what their abilities are, how those abilities flow with the rest of the team, and that sort of thing. In a game like World of Warcraft, it's closer to your talents, which we still don't have. It's closer to something like your talents. So it's not a matter of who's with you, it's a matter of who you are. Normally in, say, player versus player, which is what you'd refer to a MOBA as. A MOBA is something like League of Legends, Defense of the Ancients, I think it's called, Dota. I think that's his actual name. Defense of the Ancients, Defense something of the Ancients, something like that. Or HOTS, Heroes of the Storm, which is a Blizzard-made MOBA, which I prefer for top-down MOBAs. But they're very different sort of things, because even in this we have things like Battlegrounds, which are, sort of, rated things, and we have 3v3, 2v2, and 1v1 duels, which all do their own specific thing. By the way, our bags are full, but we're still able to pick up quest items, because they don't actually take up slots in your bag, technically. And again, add-on for a bag, this is not how it normally looks. Normally it would look like this, with another larger bag for the default. I prefer my textile version. Textile? That's cloth. A little bit tired. But that's how that goes. And so something that you'd get more in series to come in the recent future for this channel, in terms of World of Warcraft, would be the meta of dungeoning and raiding. Dungeoning and raiding is very, very odd. There's a Blizzard set meta, which for a dungeon means you have one tank, one healer, and 3 damage dealers. For for a raid, in Blizzard's eyes. A 10-man raid doesn't exist. So for their 25-man raids, they have, I mean, the 10-man raid does actually exist, just to Blizzard, they only do 25-man. Used to be 40-man, which was a pain in the butt to get together, and nobody ever did anything right, which made them hysterical, but you'd never get through a raid without a good guild. But the 25-man raid is generally 2 tanks, 5 healers, and the rest are damage dealers. I think it's 18 of them are damage dealers. So, you know, that's how they set it out. What I have found, normally, if you're a guild just starting up, or you, even if you've been going at it for a while, but you're entering a new raid set, you're not sure how the wings go, you're not sure how the entire raid flows, 3 tanks is always good in case one goes down. Then you can have, say, 7 healers, just to keep everybody certain to be alive, and then the other 15 can be DPS. That is what I've seen work always. That's like your safety numbers. Generally, for any raid, you need, we're not going to do that quest. That's just get a cougar femur, just go over, start, kill a few cougars, one of them will drop a femur. I think I showed you the cougars in the last episode, or the episode before that. We've seen them. But the... Oop, my inventory's full. Duh, I can't complete a quest if I don't have places to put the stuff they give me. We didn't see this. But the big thing about the raids is that the safety mode is what I just said. 3 tanks, 7 healers. The other 15 are DPS. For a 10-man, I would say 2 tanks is fine. Say 3 healers, and then the other 5 are DPS. Generally, you have the most of your raid is DPS guys, damage dealers. So that's all well and good. But there is, if you're running, if you're in the middle of an expansion, which we're still early on in Legion, raids are still opening up. Let's see if we can actually see them. No, we can't. Oh wait, we can. Raids are still opening up as we speak. Here's the current raids. So I would say that now would be a time the safety mode is a good idea. Because you can study a raid all you like, but until you run it, you don't really know how things go. You don't know the rooms you're in, you don't know the shape of the area you have, yada yada. So that's all well and good. If you've been running it for a while, you're in the middle of an expansion, you're at the end of the expansion, you're waiting for the next one to come out, whatever, generally people will end up, slacking, trying to get it done quicker than they need to. And for that, normally you'd have something, say 25-man raid again. It's 2, say 2 tanks, 3 to 4 healers, and then the rest are DPS. So you lost a couple healers. Generally those healers are much better. They know what they're doing. They know how everything works. They know who they need to heal when and why. But it is... Oop, we leveled. We got Lava Burst. So now we're starting to use our Maelstrom. Oh no, that also generates Maelstrom. No. That's not at all what I thought it would be. Okay. Anyway, the, let's see how that looks. Yeah, but metas are what a player does. But it has a cooldown. shame. Meta is what the players do. It's it's not what the game dictates, it's what the player dictates of the game. And you need to, in player versus player things, you need to be able to counter that. So, everybody knows that, let's say everybody knows that all the shamans use Lava Burst. It's always Lava Burst. Lava Burst is their main ability. It's not, but Lava Burst is their main ability, and it always kills people. That's what you always get killed by in any PvP. It's always a shaman and his fire damage. Well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to equip some gear that reduces the amount of damage I take from fire, and I'm just going to say, yeah, shamans don't really bother me anymore. But then, the shaman... Oh, I missed. But then the, actually, I don't even need to go up there, do I? I don't know, I do. Yeah. Need to go up on Thunderbluff, okay. But then what are the shamans gonna do? The shamans are gonna say, well, I'm not gonna sit around and just not do damage to people anymore. I'm going to change up my style a little bit, and so the shaman is now going to use lightning bolt more. He's going to use, earth shock or earthquake more. His earthen elementals for earth damage, which would be, I believe, just physical damage. No, nature damage, there we go. Or I'm going to use lightning bolt for nature damage, or, I'm going to use, maybe shamans completely fall out of meta. People are just absorbing nature damage and absorbing fire damage, and shamans just can't keep up. So the shamans drop, and, well, now mages pop up because it's arcane damage, and then people start building against arcane damage, and yada yada yada. That's what meta is. But there's a big problem when you start looking up metas. The issue with... we need to go up. The issue with searching for a meta and, going, okay, this is the meta of 3v3s. This is the meta of 3v3s. In 3v3s, you need 2 priests and a blood death knight. It doesn't matter how much damage you do, just so long as you never die. That's good and all, but what meta is it? There's multiple different, types of a meta. There's the high gameplay, high level pro gameplay level of meta, which will almost always be different from the little person like me walking around going, hey, I'm gonna go into a battleground, because we're generally not on that same ranking level. We don't know our classes that well. So say let's go again. Let's say a shaman is up against a warrior. Now, under normal conditions, a fury warrior should be able to get into melee with an elemental shaman and beat him to death and kill him. That's generally a thing. He's walking around with two-handed weapons. He's dual wielding them, and he jumps on you and just smushes you. But in ranked play, that happens 100%. Almost 100% of the time. Warrior and shaman go at it. Warrior wins. Well, by the way, that's not at all the meta right now. I don't know what the meta is right now, but it's not that. I haven't done PvP yet in Legion. But at this level, at somewhere closer to my level, somewhere closer to my level, it's a matter of, well, that warrior, he's going in PvP and he's having fun with it and doing whatever, but, well, he's not a fury warrior, he's an arms warrior, which means, he wields one big two-handed weapon and calls it good. And he doesn't jump on me. He decides he wants to run up to me because, it's more intimidating in his head. And whatever, and you know, I'm Johnny on the spot. I'm like, oh, I can just take advantage of this, and I, you know, lava burst, and you know, then I stun him, and he gets in close finally, and I war stomp, and you know, stun him, and he can't do anything. I rack off a few lightning bolts, and he dies. You know, that's a matter of, you know, he didn't know exactly how to deal with a shaman. Just because your class, your role, is theoretically better than... What am I doing? What are we doing? You know what we're going to do? We're going to see... We're going to go back up there and see about quests. Yeah, so if you're following along for leveling in this episode might be terrible for you. There's a whole bunch of quests on Thunderbluff. You find them on your map and go and do them. Actually, what level are we? 12? We don't actually need to be in Thunderbluff anymore. We're gonna move on to another area. But it's a matter of knowing your class, knowing their strengths, knowing their weaknesses, and knowing the strengths and weaknesses of the other classes. So even if, say, a mage gets into melee, where realistically he's pretty much dead, because he has no melee attacks, or any useful ones anyway. He still has a basic attack, but yeah, right, that's going to do something. I'm going to hit you with my stick that has a crystal on it. And then the paladin goes, that's cute, and hits him with a mace. But yeah, we're gonna go to Ogrimmar. But the big issue is you run into, well, I know exactly how to play my shaman, but that guy doesn't know how to play his death knight. That one doesn't know how to play his, you know. And in certain cases, it doesn't matter so much about your skill, because this is flatly better than this. You know, right now I know for a fact, at least in world PvP, because as a warlock in the Legion base of operations in the new and improved Dalaran, as a warlock you need to go near a PvP zone in Dalaran in order to get to your order hall, which is like a, you know, home base for your class. So all the warlocks have their own order hall, all the warriors have their own order hall, yada yada yada. So it doesn't, like, right now, Frost Death Knight will run in, use Gorfien's Grasp, which is a big AoE, pull in all my enemies to a target, or he'll use, Death Grip, which is a single target, pull an enemy to me, so long as they can be moved. Something like a raid boss normally can't, dungeon bosses normally can't, but the trash you sure as heck can, the players you sure as heck can, under normal conditions. But they do that, they use an ability called Remorseless Winter, and then they use their main ability called Obliterate, and you just fall over. If you can't withstand that initial damage, you just fall over, because Remorseless Winter is a big AoE. I'm going to slow your movement speed, slow your attack speed, start doing damage to you, and start stacking up my plagues. My big plague. Oof. And so you just fall over and die. The easiest way to counter it is just to stun him. That's it. You just stun him, walk away. Now all his abilities are on cooldown, and, you know, or silence him for that matter. Purge, silence, any of those. And so you get the picture. Every meta has a counter, and every person is, well, not every person, but there are different groups of people with different metas. There's the casual meta, there's the professional meta, and there's probably a slew of them in between. You know, climbing up a ladder, which is what they call the ranking system of player versus player in most games, from trading card games to this. You're gonna find different meta types. Okay, wow, I really am tired. After this recording, I'm going to bed. Don't worry, I'll still get your full hour out, but you know, I've had a long day. But that's what you do. And so it's you have to know your own meta, or know the meta that you're going into. Not so much if you look up. Knowing the professional meta is fun and it's neat, but it's not always useful. By the way, that's why I said you could jump down and not really take any damage. I mean, you take damage, but you don't die. Fall damage is percentile based, so you never have to worry. But that's what metas are for. Something new comes out, somebody finds a new way to take advantage of a new system, and then you have to find ways to break it, and so you end up with 3 or 4 really good things that all counter each other, and then occasionally somebody will come up with something completely, out of the box that will completely knock over everything. It'll just shove it out of the way. And that's how metas go. Metas change, metas evolve. We're going to Ashara, which is technically an incomplete zone. It never was. I don't think if they completed it recently, but when it came out, there was a good few years where it wasn't complete. Oh, shoot. So we're gonna go up there and do some quests. But it's a lot of research. Either reading or actually actively going out and playing and finding experience. I am of the following of going out and playing the game for 50, 60 hours at it, playing it for a good long time, and figuring out your meta that way. Whereas wow, this is terrible. Whereas I seem to draw in people who do more of the reading and watching variety. Both are very valid. Just when you only have to. I'll stop jumping. When you if you go out and read instead of doing the experience, you have to watch what you're reading. You have to make sure that you're reading the right metas. Like, I can swear up and down that in Hearthstone, at this very second, I can go in and play a really, or Magic the Gathering for that matter, any trading card game. I can go in and say I can play this big ramp up, really fast, a lot of small creatures that just mow you down, kind of a, what they call zoo deck, and I can win anything.
I get no respect around here.
But then somebody will walk up to me and say, well, that doesn't actually work.
I got your back.
Nobody really uses that right now. It's not something that is generally used. And I will turn to them and say, well, it is. I use it. It works with the people that I play with. And that's the issue. If you're playing a live game, it is living. It is a living, breathing entity that changes over time. So you gotta be careful of that. So at your local gaming store, if you're playing one thing and then somebody comes around and completely changes it and finds something that's just blows everything out of the water and is better, well, there you go, your meta changed. Whereas if you're playing at your local gaming store or whatever, and you find a really cool top tier deck, say Magic the Gathering deck, online, and you play it because it ranked #1 in the world, and and you go to your LGS and you tank. It's because that's not. It might be beautiful. Say again that top deck is this zoo ramp, throw 1,000 creatures at you to win thing. But your entire local gaming store's meta is based around counterspells, not letting you play 1,000 creatures and killing all the creatures on the field. You're not really going to win. You're going to lose horrifically because mass killing beats 1,000 creatures. If I can play one card and kill 7 of yours that are on the field for maybe an eighth the cost, I just won. So it's a give and a take. But in the reverse of that, if you don't watch the professional or any other meta at all, and you sit in your own little bubble, and then you move metas, you'll be lost. You'll be doing one thing thinking it's a beautiful idea and it's a fabulous way to do things. You have to target the tree and then hit one. It'll chop down the tree. And then the snipers will jump out at you. Right now we're fending off an invasion of night elves. There is a faction of elves in the Horde called the Blood Elves. Night elves and blood elves don't really like each other, and I'll have a whole slew of. I don't know if they'll be on this series, but there will be a series somewhere where I talk about lore, because some of the lore of this game is really fun. Anyway, if you go to move metas and you don't look up whatever it is going on, or you don't do a little bit of, testing the water in some way, you're going to get lost, you're going to get plowed into the ground, and you're going to be sad. So it's a matter of a give and a take. You gotta, ease on through and keep persevering through anything like that. Oy. Half an hour down. Another half an hour to go. Jeez, a lot of yawning. I have a better flow of thought when I'm tired, but man, if I do yawn. Oh, yawn once and you're gonna yawn 1,000 times. What else can I talk about? I've talked about metas. That's pretty much all you need to know about a meta. It's player based. And there's a lot of them. There's not just one to any game. The new player is not going to do the same thing that the player that's been going at it for 5 years is going to do. My buddy made a Death Knight, and I have a Death Knight. My Death Knight's one of my favorite characters. I'm trying to get away from playing her as much, but she is one of my favorite characters. I'll run into an army, take it on, heal out of it, and move on. He'll run up to an army, take it on, and he'll survive, actually. He's pretty good at it. But he'll be worried the entire time, whereas I'm, lackadaisical about it, and I'm calm, I'm collected. I'm just like, yeah, this is what I'm doing, and I'm having fun with it. Whereas he's going, okay, I need to hit this button, I need to hit this button. And that's just a difference of experience. I am more experienced in doing things like that, so I'm going to take it a very different way, and I'm going to react in different ways than he would. Did I at one point do that? Hell yeah. Do I do it anymore? Not really. Even if I, run into something and I go, oh, no, I've pulled too much. For the most part, I'm not gonna hunker down. I'm just gonna either, accept that I'm going to die or see whether or not I will. So, if I'm going to die, it's like, okay, I pulled too much. Moving on. And if I see that I'll survive, but only just, I'll try to, as a Blood Death Knight, you only heal when there's enemies on the field. So I'll try to just eke out that little bit of, keep one guy alive so that I can, at the end of this fight, just beat him to death and heal up. That way, any damage over time that I have on me, and you see just by the way that I'm talking about it, that I know at least vaguely what I'm doing. Wouldn't be able to tell by this little encounter. I am not paying attention to it at all. I probably should, because these mechs like to blow up on you. They don't blow up, but they die out. You see my health up here, a joke. But everything has to start somewhere. You always got to remember that. Every single person on the planet, no matter what you're doing, no matter where your expertise lies, did lie, or will lie, you got to start somewhere. And if you don't start, nobody's going to start it for you. I enjoy actually crafting with my hands, in real life. And big issue that I run into is that is textiles, cloth. I for the life of me, never found a reason to get into tailoring, to textile work. I tried several times. My mother loves it. It's her favorite thing ever. She has a nice sturdy fabric, but she can still work it with her, arthritis and everything, and so she loves it. She's been doing it for years and years, crocheting let me try that again. Crocheting since she was 2. There we go. I'm not tired. You're tired. So she loves it. I, on the other hand, went to make a bag with crochet and got about a line in and stopped. I never picked it up again, and I never will. On the other hand, I wanted to make a felt robe, and I'm hoping that one actually follows through, and I get that one done. I hold with it. But then you look at something like she was trying to get me into crafting with that. I got into crafting instead with candle making. A much harder craft. Not harder as in skill-wise, harder as in it's a harder material. And from candle making went to blacksmithing, went to chainmail, went to all that stuff. Like, pretty soon I'm going to be making bull whips for no reason, which is leatherworking, which I also like doing. So it's all a matter of a person. I guess this episode is all about people and psychology. Yeah, vague psychology. Psychology you don't read in a textbook. Maybe you do. I should maybe get a psychology textbook. That'd be pretty cool. I got enough books around here. Probably got one somewhere. But it's once you start looking in deeper with something, you'll realize that there's a lot more levels to it than just 1 or 2. For a video game, there isn't just the new players and the professionals. For craft work, there isn't an apprentice and a scholar. An apprentice and a artisan. for learning, there isn't a student and a scholar. There's a range of different levels that you gotta go through in order to make it from, kindergarten to a professor at Harvard, let's say. There's a lot of steps you gotta go through to go from, working the bellows at a forge to, designing and teaching the others how to, realistically, it's manning the forge to being a blacksmith, or a swordsmith, or a silversmith, or a whatever else you may fancy. So it's all a matter of time, and people don't like to put in time anymore. I mean, obviously, either A, you guys are putting in time in something else, or B, you really got nothing better to do because you're spending an hour of your time listening to me just blabber on about, vaguely the same topic the entire time. Vaguely. Alright. Something about his quests. Venison for the troops. Abandon it. If you can. If you can, abandon it. You need 15 venison, and it's not worth the drop chance. Because each one of these guys will maybe give you one sometimes. Sometimes they give you two, sorta. So if it were, say, even 10, I'd say do it. I'm yawning again. But if it were, say, 10, I'd say do it. If it were 5, I'd definitely say do it, because that's easy. But 15 is a lot of work for not much payout. Ooh, wait, we got another ability. We leveled up again? Sweet. Farsight changes your viewpoint. Hunters have an ability like this. Theirs is called, Eagle Sight. I've never found a practical use for it, but it's really fun. Let's just show you what it does, shall we? Do we have that yet? No. 16. Stop it. Boom. Alright, let's show you what this does. Because this is a really neat concept for an ability, and I like it. That guy. Alright, so you see way off in the distance over there. And now you see way off in the distance. Oh! Why didn't it go? Come on. Oh, music is picked up. I'm doing something epic. There, here we go. See, way off in the distance. Over here. I have never found a practical use for it. Never. I suppose maybe, it falls back to that raiding thing. I suppose you could use it to scout around a corner of a raid. It's got no cooldown, doesn't really cost mana. Doesn't really cost mana. So, hey, go for it. But, for the most part, I just ram my face into the mobs and call it good. So, so long as you know what the mobs or the NPCs, these guys, are throwing at you, you should be fine. So long as you can avoid it. Oh, there's another guy I need. There's another guy I need. Sweet. They're like dropping out of the sky here. But in order to do anything, even this, I never spent any time examining what something like Farsight could do for me, so I don't use it. Could it do something amazing? Yeah, I could see potential for it. Do I know where that potential lies? Not at all. I mean, I suggested looking around the corner in a raid to see how many mobs there were, but you know, even that's a little bit small game for what it potentially could be used for. I suppose it could be used for
What do you need?
sitting in a safe zone while in a battleground. You could sit in a, oh, I don't want this quest. You could sit in a safe area and do that so that you can see your objective without being spotted. Although I'm not sure if people could. I'm not sure if people can see the lines of light coming out of the ground. I don't know. But it's a thing. Everything's a thing. Why do you say that? Because I'm tired. That's why I say it. Yes, I am arguing with myself. Don't question me. The more tired I get, the weirder I get. It's a matter of perspective as well. Meta, that is. A meta's a matter of perspective a little bit. Say you do 1v1 PvP. You do, you know, what some games would call dueling. You do what some games call a joust. You do what other games call, you know what it is. One person, one other person, and then they run at each other really fast. Or sometimes if they don't want it to be in melee, they don't run very fast. And they start shooting projectiles at each other or something. There's a different meta for that.
On your way.
I might actually cut this one short, man. I really am tired.
Yeah?
Oh,
What
yeah.
do you want? See you around, friend.
But the, ooh, I have a quest to turn in? Over here.
The eternal
But
sun
the,
guides us.
come on, complete the quest. So say even two rogues go at it. Two melee guys. Rogue A says, you know, the damage over time talents and the, you know, getting out of stealth abilities are the only way that you're going to win. But then guy B says, no, I completely disagree with you. What I say is that, you know, I agree with your getting out of stealth thing, but I think that it's not the damage over time, the big damage over times that you do out of stealth. I think that it's, you know, that you should be taking the talents that up your damage when you attack a target from behind, and, you know, and I get a higher crit chance, and I get this, and I get that. Well, realistically, they're both right. Could you win by just completely pounding a person into dust? Yes. You pounded them into dust. Why wouldn't you win? But then again, can you completely win? Can you win by just out-sustaining somebody? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. If you can keep yourself alive longer than they can, you win. That's the end of it. There is no more, you know, other person. So it's very difficult to determine which one's better, because from each one's perspective, they're better. You pit them against each other, and, you know, maybe the one that comes out and, you know, what was it, B comes out and completely beats A into the ground, and then they have another one, and, you know, A gets the drop on him and gets a lot of damage over time, and then sprints away, and, you know, there's a slow on B now, and so he can't catch up, and he dies, and, you know, there's a little bit of a, oh, you know, we're going to attack this. I'm gonna pick up those. 2, 1, and boom. Anyway, this is what I do here. I target them. They go 2, 1, go. Yay! I don't know if it's actually supposed to do anything, but it's fun to do. And technically, those boxes of explosives are a higher level than me. Oh, we want the... oh no, we're just killing the basilisks. Okay. But yeah, there's a lot to consider when you're starting up something new, or starting up a new season, or starting up anything that's going to be a human against a human. And the company that creates whatever it is that's going on has to take into account the human factor of calculation. You know, computers are good and all, but we have yet to build a computer that can tell us, you know, what card in Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering, or what class in World of Warcraft is going to be the best. You know, the quintessential thing that everybody should be running. We don't know. There's no... well, we do know, but we don't have a computer that can tell us by just plugging in the numbers. It can give us raw data. It can say, well, you know, this thing can do this, and this. So it has the highest damage per second, and it will win. But then somebody comes along and says, well, yeah, but I'm just going to stun him to, you know, such and such amount of damage, which is less than him in a longer amount of time, but it doesn't matter because he's stunned. What is he going to do? Or, of course, the human factor of error, which is always fun to try to calculate. But if you think about it, you just thought faster than a computer. Think about anything. Here, wiggle your pinky. Alright? That would take just the not the whole process, but the act of thinking to wiggle your pinky, you know, just in that broad sense, would take a computer, I believe, what is it, 1,000 times the amount of time? You know, so it took you just a parcel of a second. It would probably take a computer and, you know, probably half a second, or, you know, 3/4 of a second to figure out, oh, move the pinky. Which is weird to think about when... here's an easier way, because we're playing video games. Here we go. Close your eyes. Hey, I said close them. Follow along. Come now. Alright. Now, what you're looking at, okay, eyes closed, keep in mind, just imagine, you're looking at a large three-fingered beast. These fingers are connected to 2 arms that meet in the middle with no chest cavity. Okay? Now, on top of that, you know, you just got the 2 shoulders and the 2 arms with 3 fingers on each one. Is a little head that has 1 giant eye right in the middle. And his name is Bill. And he has a very nasally, very high voice when he speaks. And when he does speak, he has 1 big tooth right in the middle. You can all imagine that. Now, he's standing in a green field, and in that field there's deer and elk and trees and other lovely things. Daisies line a dirt path that he's walking along with his big 3-fingered hands. And he's happy and he's smiling and he's walking down, and you know, all that you just thought of, you know, pretty much instantly when I said it. Open your eyes, by the way, unless you like what I name him, Bill. All of that is what my computer is doing right now, and your computer is doing right now. You'd think, but it's not. What your computer is doing is, let's say, take this tree, okay? This nice little tree here. This tree is the rendition of an artist. He saw a lovely sprawling red tree, or maybe it was a willow, that sort of took the shape of a pine. So it drooped, but it was pointy. We can see this. But what this actually in front of us is not that. What we see is ones and zeros, little pixies in a wire, that are telling little light bulbs in the back of your screen to give us such and such colors at any given time. For my computer, yeah, technically it's a little bit more complicated. I actually have a 3D model and yada 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 yada. But your brain can come up with that. If I say close your eyes and imagine your favorite flower, you just did. Or you imagined a flower at least. If I say close your eyes and imagine your mother or your father or your sister or your brother or your friend or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, every time I said a new word, maybe it took you half a second to register what I said, but pretty much you instantly thought of the person that I said. Or somebody that would resemble it in, say, a movie or whatever. So it's not the same as a computer. In a computer, if I line up a whole bunch of photos, now remember I have to line them up, and then I start scrolling through them, it takes a little bit of a second to load all of them. Now that's just loading the image. Actually thinking up, sorting, if you were to quantify our brains as a filing system. Oh, how about I move? If you were to quantify our brains as a filing system and a computer was to go through it, it would be miles upon miles upon miles of files, of filing cabinets, of all of that.
Don't waste my time.
And our brain goes through it just like that. That's it. That's all it takes. If I say, imagine a daisy. All of you might not come up with the same thing, because I've learned some people don't know what daisies are. Actually, I think right now I'm imagining something called a pansy. But, you know, you still imagined a flower, a little, you know, yellow flower, and it's very nice. If I say imagine grass, all of us imagine pretty much the same thing. If I say do this, you know, but if you go to a computer and type in imagine grass, it's not the same. What it will do is look through a database for the keywords imagine and grass, which is very different. It's looking for something that was already sorted. Our brain took something that didn't exist and created it. Computers are quick, but they're not quick enough for that. and not sure if they will be anytime soon. We are, or did, not sure if it actually got developed yet or not. I know it's not mainstream at least. We're doing liquid data retrieval, which sounds well and good, but even that can't match the sheer speed of our brains. And it's just mind-blowing how fast our brains are. Because you think of a computer and all of this that it's doing, but now you have to remember that this was an image in somebody's head well before it took shape on a computer. What I'm trying to get at is take this game. Here, let's kill these guys first of all. So let's just clear this out here. Oh, we have our resurrection now, which is useful. All right. Now you're not. This isn't going to be a perfect thing, as none of what I've said at the end of this episode here has been. But look at this anvil. Ooh, look, stuff. Look at this anvil. All right. Now imagine the anvil. It's pretty easy, isn't it? It's very vague shape. It's an anvil shape. It doesn't even matter if you imagine this anvil, you knew what other anvils were, and you could figure out what this anvil looked like. It probably took a guy a couple of hours to get a computer to understand what shape and textures this had. You can do that in a fraction of a second. And so, you know, on this little rant, little bit of a bombshell, we didn't level too much this episode, but I fried my own brain, so that was fun. But on that little rant, I'm going to leave all my little pixels back in the screen. I'm going to let you all go back to doing what you were doing. And I'll see you guys next time.